we go.
So today we're going to introduce you to grind settings and the two grinders that we have, the hand grinder and the Wilfer grinder. So what we've prepared earlier is the vessels and the grind settings that we recommend. But hey, it's about having fun with it. It's a recommendation, but it's also about taste.
Right.
So we like to bring out sweetness in coffee. So actually we're grinding a little finer than you would expect normally. So we've got the French press. That's the grind setting for the French press. If you've got the Rhino hand grinder, if you go all the way to the tightest setting and then come back, I'd say about 10, maybe 11 clicks. A little trick is to hold this here while you're actually turning the wheel backwards.
Yeah.
Okay? So that it kind of is as consistent as you can do. Here, we've marked it out and you can see it first. Tell me the setting for for French press.
Yeah, so I guess we go all the way across. So that's where we set our medium setting. So that gives you a bit of an idea as to how coarse this grinder generally tends to grind. So yeah, it says, you know, AeroPress here, and it's got all these markers in filter and French press. We actually think if you take it up to French press on the Wilfer, it's too coarse and you won't brew a strong enough coffee. So I'd say maybe 1 or 2 clicks in from filter, maybe you click in from filter, and then that should give you your coarser setting for the French press. Now, what if we wanted to have a strong coffee out of this?
Well, it depends also which vessel you're using.
Yeah.
So as we're going through it, that might be the weakest one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the French press. But again, it depends on the recipe. It depends on the coarseness or fineness of your grind and how long you let it steep.
Yeah.
As I said, we tend to, and it's also be tactile with it. Just try and put it through your fingers and get used to the grind setting. Okay? Okay, so that's for that one. I would say as you go along, this would probably yield a more denser coffee, a more body coffee. Again, we are actually erring on the finer grind that you would expect. So that's the V60. Again, on the Rhino hand grinder, if you go to the tightest and then you come back 7, 8 maybe, that's that.
Yeah, it's worth trying, isn't it?
Yeah, it's worth trying. And you know, we like to bring out sweetness. You know, that's really the important thing is to bring out sweetness in coffee.
Yeah.
Body sweetness and taste. There's plenty of flavor in our coffees. So just experiment with it. Have some scales so that you know and you can replicate what you like and avoid what you don't like.
Yeah.
Conversely.
And then on the Wilfer, same thing again. We've marked out where we like our medium setting. So it's, you know, you got the A of the AeroPress, and then it's just 1 click in from that. Again, some coffees you might need to go a little bit finer, or maybe a touch coarser, but for us we found that this is the ideal setting on the Wilfer to brew filters in general.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And then we go to the most versatile brewers of them all, the AeroPress. Now in the previous recording I showed you the inverted method, so that's what the inverted method looks like, where you can do a really condensed coffee that you can either drink as close to an espresso as possible, or you can dilute it with water if it's a bit too condensed, or you can add milk to it to make it more like a flat white or a latte. So here again, the setting is remarkably fine, actually, and again on the Rhino it's tightest and then 3 clicks in, so really on the fine side. And on the Wilfer, I think it's also 3 clicks in.
Yeah, so you go all the way to the end, so you got your setting there, but then you kind of bring it back a touch. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And we've got it marked here so we don't forget, but it's actually worth experimenting with these grind sizes, because obviously everyone has a particular taste that they like, and then each coffee or bean has its kind of optimum recipe
Absolutely.
depending on the method that you brew it with. Now I want to go back to this French press here, and I know here at Chimney Fire we like to brew it with a finer grind setting and get a stronger coffee, or
but also
a sweeter coffee.
So strong is kind of sometimes a misconception, isn't it?
Yeah.
People think strong needs to be bitter. No, strong, for me, strength means body and density of the ratios that you're using. So a rule of thumb, again, with the French press is 15 grams of coffee to 250 milliliters of water, or 30 grams of coffee to 500 milliliters of water, depending on the size of your vessel. So a little calculation would be 1 gram of coffee, 16.67 milliliters or grams of water. And then you can brew whatever you want.
Yeah.
The same applies to the V60. The only difference will be the grind setting and pouring it as a percolation as opposed to a full immersion.
Yeah.
Okay?
So how would they benefit then, I suppose, trying a medium grind like this, or basically finer than coarse, and then trying the sort of the cafetiere or French press method with that? What can they expect? Do you reckon that would be more beneficial if they're having it with milk, or if they want to brew a coffee with more body?
Yeah, I think it also depends. Here you're in full control how long you're going to let it steep. Well, you should always be in control of the contact water to grinds.
Yeah.
Is in your hands, basically. So another very good way actually of using the French press is the ratios that we just said, and then let it steep for 4 minutes. Don't agitate, don't do anything. You'll see that some of the grinds fall to the bottom, some will stay on top. And after 4 minutes, you break what's on top with the spoon and you push everything down and you let it sit for another 10 minutes. There's always a point where the coffee stops extracting. And with that, it works perfectly well.
Right.
And then drink it. You need to wait until it cools down anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not wasted 10 minutes. You can go and reply to an email or whatever, and then you come back to your French press, and delicious coffee is waiting for you with the perfect temperature.
Glorious. Amazing.